Hello, I am Ian Deterling, I am a composer, and I wrote Dwarves. If you would like to listen to this piece without me talking over it, I've provided a link in the description below. I wrote Dwarves in 2018 for Brian Langley. He suggested that I should look into writing and arranging works for a flex band, a way of scoring music so that ensembles that frequently have to deal with incomplete instrumentation, incomplete as far as traditional concert band ensembles go, can still perform works with the guarantee that all the parts are covered and that the ensemble is properly balanced. Dwarves is the first piece that I wrote specifically for a flex band. This orchestral arrangement that is playing in the background was made specifically for the North Shore Philharmonic Orchestra, with Tracy Gibbons as the director. I always find it fascinating yet challenging, in a good way, whenever I revisit a work to adapt and rewrite it for a different instrumentation, and Dwarves was definitely no exception. While working on different chord voicings, developing new counter melodies, and having the full palette of the orchestral timbres at my disposal, I decided to transpose this entire piece up to B minor. I originally wrote it a third lower in the key of G minor. I felt this transposition added an extra degree of intensified brilliance, while allowing me to take some of the melodies and musical ideas and drop them an entire octave for a contrasting heavier low end. In the first measure of the piece, I have it marked to be played Dwarvish. This piece is about dwarves in general, from popular sources like The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings, and Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, to older folk stories and mythology. When you think of dwarves, they spend much of their time mining deep under the mountain with heavy tools and instruments. In The Hobbit and in The Lord of the Rings, the dwarves go to war, weighted down with heavy armor. And of course, dwarves are also known for their spectacular banquets with food and beer as far as the eye can see. So dwarvish, to me, means weighted, but with strength and determination. The first main idea in this piece is in the low voices in measure 13. It's musically simple, but every note has this power to it. You can hear it again double-timed in the high voices starting in measure 33. It isn't musically complicated, but it hints a little more towards sophistication, perhaps giving them credit for the fine metalwork that they're known for creating. The overall mood shifts at measure 57. This section, set in a major key, is a joyous feast, everyone filling their bellies with delicious food and drink. Now, a lot of the chord progressions I used, the chords themselves are all triadic, but the progressions from one chord to another are intentionally angular. Not always, but enough to where I feel like it's worth mentioning. In addition to making this piece more just musically interesting for me, this angular chord movement makes the piece a little bit more unpredictable, and that of course ties in with dwarves, as these mythological creatures can be rather unpredictable. In measure 89, the major idea gets repeated again, and this is followed in contrast by this mysterious section, different ideas overlapping each other, as everything from the string accompaniment to chord sequences descend lower and lower deep into the mountain. From 117 to the end, these sections are basically repeating what's already happened, but the orchestration is more powerful and more active, and some counter melodies are introduced. One, for example, in the orchestral version, would be the violins and violas in measure 137 to 140. This is heard again in the horns and trombones in measures 153 to 156. This entire ending section is absolutely boisterous, very characteristic of dwarves, as they are not shy creatures by any means.